Have you ever felt that you were different, even as a child, that there was something about you that set you apart from everyone else? Perhaps you didn't understand it at the time, but you carried a quiet awareness, a sense of purpose that whispered to you in moments of solitude. It was as if you were chosen, marked for a life that was anything but ordinary. Think back to your earliest memories. Do you recall moments of profound insight, as if the world revealed secrets to you that others seemed blind to? Were there times when you felt unseen and misunderstood, yet deep down you knew you were destined for something greater? If this resonates with you, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. Life often hides its greatest gifts in the most unexpected places, and childhood is where the seeds of destiny are sown. Those fleeting moments of wonder, struggle, and intuition were not random. They were signposts, clear indications that you were chosen for a purpose far beyond the ordinary. But here's the question: did you recognize the signs? Imagine standing at a crossroads in your life, where every memory from your childhood is a guide, pointing you toward your destiny. Each sign was a breadcrumb left behind, a reminder that you were never meant to blend in or follow the crowd. Your path was always different, narrow, perhaps lonely, but undeniably unique. Some of you may have buried those memories under the weight of time and doubt. Perhaps you've dismissed them as mere coincidences or the innocent musings of a child. But what if those moments were divine messages? What if they were proof that your life was designed with intention and care, even before you were old enough to understand it? Pause for a moment. Let yourself go back to those days when life was simple yet profound. Do you remember being drawn to things others overlooked? Feeling a connection to something bigger than yourself? Perhaps it was the way you could find beauty in broken things, or how your questions about life and existence seemed too deep for your age. Whatever it wasn't ordinary. It was extraordinary. You may have felt like an outsider, someone who didn't quite fit the mold. But that sense of being different wasn't a curse, it was your calling. The world may not have understood you, but that's because you were never meant to conform. You were meant to transform. As we journey through these 10 signs, allow yourself to reflect. Let each one awaken a memory, a feeling, or a realization. Because these signs are not just markers of the past, they are keys to unlocking your future. They remind you of who you were before the world tried to tell you who to be. Now, let's uncover the truth. Let's explore the 10 clear signs from your childhood that proved you were chosen. 1. You asked big questions early on. As a child, you were a seeker. While others were preoccupied with toys and games, your mind gravitated toward deeper truths, mysteries of existence, and questions that seemed far beyond your years. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? Who created the stars? And why do they shine for us? These were not idle curiosities, they were the stirrings of a soul designed for greater understanding. Asking big questions early in life is not a coincidence. It is evidence of a spirit that is awake, yearning for divine truth. In the scriptures, we are reminded that wisdom is a gift from God. King Solomon, known for his unparalleled wisdom, did not stumble upon understanding by chance. He sought it earnestly. He prayed, "Give me wisdom and knowledge, that I may lead this people." 2 Chronicles 1:10. Like Solomon, your questions as a child were a reflection of your divine potential. You were being prepared, even then, to seek answers that would shape not only your own life, but also the lives of those you would one day influence. Think about this: how many children stop to wonder about eternity, the meaning of love, or the existence of God? If you were one of those rare individuals who couldn't stop thinking about the why behind life's mysteries, that wasn't random. It was a sign that your mind and heart were being molded for something extraordinary. You were given the gift of curiosity, and with it, the responsibility to pursue truth. In the book of Proverbs, it says, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter, but the glory of kings to search it out." Proverbs 25:2. As a child, you may not have known it, but your deep questions were an act of searching. You were stepping into the role of a king or queen in your own right, uncovering the hidden treasures God placed in your path. And here's the beauty of it: God does not plant questions in our hearts without also providing answers. Every question you asked was a divine nudge, leading you closer to the purpose He designed for you. But there's more. When you asked these profound questions, you might have felt isolated, as though no one understood the depths of your thoughts. That loneliness wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. God often separates those He chooses so they can hear His voice more clearly. Moses wasn't called while surrounded by the noise of the crowd. He was called from a burning bush in the wilderness. Your big questions, even as a child, were part of your wilderness, a sacred space where God began to reveal Himself to you. Now, reflect on this. What did those questions teach you about yourself and the world around you? Did they draw you closer to God, even if you didn't realize it at the time? Each question was a seed, planted in the soil of your soul, waiting for the right season to grow. That season is now. 2. You felt older than your age. From an early age, people may have told you you're wise beyond your years, or you seem like an old soul. While your peers were content with the simplicity of childhood, you often found yourself reflecting on ideas and emotions that seemed far too complex for someone so young. This wasn't because you were trying to act mature. It was because something within you was already mature. You were carrying wisdom not taught in books, but placed in you by the Creator. This sense of being older than your age is not something to dismiss as mere coincidence. In Ecclesiastes 3:11, it says, He has set eternity in the human heart. God placed within you an awareness of time, eternity, and the deeper rhythms of life. You may not have had the words to explain it as a child, but you sensed it. You were in tune with something eternal, something far greater than yourself. When you felt older than your age, it often came with a weight. Perhaps you carried responsibilities that were unusual for someone so young. You may have been the one your friends turned to for advice, or the child who could sense when others were hurting, even when they said nothing. This burden was not placed on you to break you, it was placed on you to shape you. God was training you, even in your youth, to become a person of influence, someone who would one day carry the weight of leadership and purpose. Consider Joseph in the Bible. As a young boy, Joseph had dreams that set him apart from his brothers. Those dreams were not understood by others, and they caused him to be rejected and misunderstood. Yet God used those very experiences to prepare Joseph for a destiny he could not have imagined. Like Joseph, your sense of being older than your age was a sign that God was preparing you for something greater. But with this wisdom often comes isolation. You may have felt like you didn't quite fit in with others your age. While they were preoccupied with trivial matters, your mind was drawn to deeper things: truth, justice, love, and purpose. This sense of being different was not a curse. It was your calling. In Isaiah 55:9, God reminds us, As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways and my thoughts than your thoughts. Your thoughts were not meant to blend in, they were meant to rise above. Being wise beyond your years also means you were given a responsibility to steward that wisdom well. The Bible tells us to whom much is given, much will be required. Luke 12:48. Your understanding, even as a child, was a gift, but it is also a calling to use that wisdom to make a difference in the world, to serve others, and to bring glory to the one who gave it to you. So ask yourself, what have you done with the wisdom you carried as a child? Have you nurtured it, or have you allowed the world to make you doubt it? Because that wisdom is still within you, waiting to be awakened and used for the purpose you were chosen to fulfill. 3. You were deeply empathetic. You had a heart that felt everything. When others were hurting, you felt their pain as if it were your own. Whether it was a friend struggling with rejection, a sibling facing disappointment, or even a stranger enduring sorrow, you couldn't simply look away. Their burdens became your burdens, and their tears felt as though they flowed through you. This level of empathy was not ordinary, it was extraordinary. It was a clear sign that you were chosen. Empathy is one of the most powerful gifts God can bestow upon a person. In Romans 12:15, we are told to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. As a child, you embodied this scripture without even realizing it. You didn't need anyone to teach you compassion, it was already written on your heart. But why would God give you such a deep sense of connection to the emotions of others? Because empathy is the foundation of service, and those who are chosen are often called to serve. Consider the life of Jesus. When he saw the crowds, he was moved with compassion because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Matthew 9:36. His empathy wasn't just a feeling, it was the driving force behind his actions. Similarly, your childhood empathy was not a weakness but a divine strength, preparing you to step into a life of impact. However, being deeply empathetic often came with challenges. You may have found yourself emotionally drained, unable to explain why you felt so overwhelmed. You carried not only your own emotions but also the unspoken struggles of those around you. At times, this burden may have felt unbearable. But here's the truth: God never intended for you to carry it alone. Your empathy was never about fixing everything yourself. It was about drawing closer to Him so that He could work through you. Your empathy also set you apart because it gave you insight into the human condition. You saw the world not through a lens of judgment but through one of understanding. While others may have looked at someone's outward actions and criticized them, you instinctively understood their deeper struggles. This was a reflection of God's heart in you, a heart that sees beyond appearances and loves unconditionally. But there's more. Your empathy wasn't just about feeling the pain of others, it was also about seeing their potential. Even as a child, you could sense when someone was struggling to believe in themselves, and you were often the one to offer encouragement. That ability to lift others up was a sign of your calling, a calling to inspire, support, and bring healing to those who cross your path. Ask yourself now, do you still carry that empathy, or have you buried it under the weight of the world? Because that gift was given to you for a reason. It is your reminder that you are not here for yourself alone, you are here to make a difference. 4. You preferred solitude. While other children were drawn to noise and activity, you found peace in the quiet. Solitude wasn't something you feared, it was something you cherished. Whether it was sitting alone under a tree, staring at the stars, or simply retreating into your own thoughts, you felt a sense of comfort in being alone. This wasn't because you were shy or antisocial, it was because your soul instinctively knew that growth and clarity often come in moments of stillness. In Psalm 46:10, we are reminded, "Be still and know that I am God." As a child, you may not have understood the depth of this verse, but you lived it. Solitude was your way of reconnecting with the divine, even if you didn't realize it at the time. It was in those moments of stillness that your thoughts became clearer, your heart felt lighter, and your spirit felt closer to something greater than yourself. But solitude wasn't always easy. Others may have misunderstood your preference for quiet, labeling you as withdrawn or different. At times you may have even questioned it yourself, wondering why you didn't crave the constant companionship that others seemed to need. Yet, what you experienced wasn't isolation, it was preparation. God often calls His chosen ones into solitude to equip them for the path ahead. Consider the great leaders and prophets of the Bible. Moses encountered God not in a crowded city but in the solitude of the wilderness. Elijah heard God's voice not in the earthquake or fire, but in the still, small whisper. Even Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray and recharge. Solitude is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength. It is the space where God does His deepest work. As a child, your moments of solitude were likely when you felt most connected to your dreams and purpose. Those quiet times allowed you to reflect on who you were and who you were becoming. While others were distracted by the noise of the world, you were quietly building the foundation for the life you were called to live. But solitude didn't just help you connect with God, it also helped you understand yourself. In the stillness, you learn to listen to your inner voice, to trust your instincts, and to discern what truly mattered. This self-awareness is a rare gift, one that many people spend their entire lives searching for. Yet, you had it as a child, simply because you valued the quiet moments that others overlooked. So, reflect on this. Do you still make time for solitude, or have you allowed the noise of life to drown out the stillness? Because it is in those moments of quiet that you will find your strength, your clarity, and your purpose. Solitude is not a retreat, it is a return to the essence of who you are, and that essence is chosen. 5. You were drawn to nature. Nature wasn't just a backdrop for your life, it was your sanctuary. You weren't just playing outside, you were connecting with something deeper, something eternal. The rustling of leaves, the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight on your face, all of these moments felt alive to you, as if they carried a message meant only for you. This connection to nature was not random, it was divine. It was a sign that you were chosen to see God's fingerprints in the world around you. In Romans 1:20, the Apostle Paul writes, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made." Your connection to nature as a child was a reflection of this truth. You weren't just admiring the beauty of creation, you were experiencing the presence of the Creator. When others saw a tree, you saw life. When they saw the sky, you saw infinity. Your eyes were open to the sacredness of the natural world, even if you didn't have the words to describe it. But being drawn to nature wasn't just about seeing beauty, it was about feeling peace. As a child, you likely found comfort in the stillness of a forest, the gentle flow of a river, or the endless horizon of the ocean. In those moments, you felt a sense of belonging, a sense that you were part of something much greater than yourself. This was not a coincidence, it was God's way of reminding you that you were never alone, that His presence surrounds you in all things. Think about the story of David. Before he was a king, David was a shepherd, spending countless hours in the wilderness, surrounded by the beauty of creation. It was there in the solitude of nature that David developed his deep relationship with God. Many of his psalms reflect the awe and wonder he felt in creation, such as Psalm 19:1, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands." Like David, your connection to nature was a training ground for your soul, teaching you to see God's glory in everything. Your love for nature also revealed your unique perspective. While others may have overlooked the small wonders of the world, you noticed the intricate details of butterflies' wings, the way the wind moved through the trees, the rhythm of the waves. This ability to see the extraordinary in the ordinary was a gift, a sign that your spirit was attuned to God's presence in ways others couldn't comprehend. But perhaps the most profound part of your connection to nature was the way it inspired you. Nature spoke to you in whispers, urging you to dream, to reflect, to grow. It reminded you that life is full of seasons, times of growth, times of stillness, and times of renewal. As a child, you may not have fully understood this, but your soul did, and it was preparing you for the seasons of your own life. So ask yourself, do you still feel that connection to nature, or has the busyness of life pulled you away? Because in the stillness of creation, God is still speaking. He is reminding you of who you are and why you are here. That connection is not just a memory, it is a calling. 6. You had vivid dreams. Your dreams were not ordinary. They were vivid, filled with meaning, and often left you with a sense of wonder or even urgency when you woke up. While others dismissed their dreams as fleeting images, yours felt significant, as though they carried messages meant only for you. These dreams weren't just products of your imagination, they were glimpses into something greater. They were a sign that you were chosen. Throughout Scripture, God has used dreams to communicate His will and purpose. Think of Joseph, the dreamer. His dreams of greatness set him apart, even as a young boy, and became the foundation for the incredible journey God had planned for him. In Genesis 37:5, it says, Joseph had a dream. And when he told it to his brothers, they hated him all the more. Joseph's dreams were vivid and prophetic, yet they also brought challenges. Like Joseph, your vivid dreams as a child were not just visions, they were invitations to step into your destiny. Your dreams likely had a way of staying with you, lingering in your mind long after you awoke. Sometimes they may have been comforting, filling you with a sense of purpose. Other times they may have been unsettling, challenging you to reflect on their meaning. Either way, they were never random. They were a reflection of your connection to the divine, a reminder that you were meant for something beyond the ordinary. But vivid dreams often come with challenges. As a child, you may have struggled to understand their meaning or felt hesitant to share them with others, fearing they wouldn't understand. And you were probably right. Dreams are deeply personal, and not everyone is ready to grasp their significance. Yet, this isolation wasn't meant to discourage you, it was meant to deepen your trust in God. In Joel 2:28, God promises, "I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions." Your dreams were evidence of God's Spirit at work in you, even in your youth. These vivid dreams also revealed the creativity and depth of your soul. They showed that your mind was not limited by the physical world, but was capable of exploring the infinite possibilities of the spiritual realm. This ability to dream, to see beyond the present, was a sign of your calling. It was God's way of planting seeds of purpose and vision within you, seeds that would one day grow into the reality of your destiny. Reflect for a moment. What did those dreams teach you? Did they inspire you to believe in something greater, to trust that your life had a purpose beyond what you could see? Because those dreams were never meant to be forgotten. They were meant to guide you, to remind you of who you are and what you are here to do. Even now, those vivid dreams remain a part of you. They are a thread in the tapestry of your life, a constant reminder that you are chosen, that your story is being written by the author of all creation. So, let those dreams inspire you once more. Let them awaken the part of you that knows you were made for more. 7. You resisted authority without cause. You may have found yourself questioning rules that didn't seem to make sense. You didn't resist authority out of rebellion or a desire to cause trouble. Instead, it stemmed from a deeper, innate need to understand the why behind things. While others blindly followed, you instinctively sought meaning, fairness, and purpose in the structures around you. This was not a flaw, it was a sign that you were chosen for leadership and destined to challenge norms that no longer served truth and justice. The Bible is full of examples of individuals who resisted authority when it conflicted with God's higher calling. Think of Moses, who defied Pharaoh's decrees to lead the Israelites to freedom, or Daniel, who refused to bow to King Nebuchadnezzar's idol and remained steadfast in his faith. These figures weren't disobedient for the sake of defiance, they were guided by a deeper understanding of divine authority. Similarly, your resistance to authority as a child was a reflection of your alignment with a higher purpose, one that demanded justice and truth over blind compliance. Your questioning nature was likely misunderstood by those around you. Teachers, parents, or other authority figures may have seen you as difficult or stubborn, but in reality, your questions were born out of wisdom. God had given you the ability to discern when something wasn't right, even if you couldn't articulate it fully as a child. This ability to challenge and question wasn't meant to alienate you, it was meant to prepare you. Leaders are rarely followers, and those chosen by God often find themselves walking paths that require courage and conviction. Consider Jesus, who consistently challenged the authority of the Pharisees and Sadducees. He wasn't afraid to confront their hypocrisy because his allegiance was to God, not to the rules of man. In Matthew 22:21, he said, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." This was a profound statement about discerning when to follow earthly authority and when to remain true to divine principles. As a child, your resistance to authority was a reflection of this same discernment, a recognition that not all rules are just and not all leaders are righteous. Your questioning spirit was also a sign of your independence. You were not content to simply accept what you were told you needed to understand it, to own it, to make it a part of your truth. This trait, though challenging in childhood, is a hallmark of leaders, innovators, and change makers. God didn't design you to fit into the mold of the world. He designed you to reshape it. Ask yourself, do you still have that fire, that courage to question the status quo? Or has the weight of life caused you to suppress it? Because that fire is part of your calling. It's a reminder that you were chosen to lead, not to follow blindly. 8. You felt misunderstood. As a child, you may have often felt like you didn't belong. Your thoughts, feelings, and ideas seemed out of sync with those around you. While others were content with surface-level conversations, you craved depth. While others followed trends, you walked your own path. This sense of being misunderstood wasn't just a struggle, it was a sign. It was evidence that you were chosen to stand apart, to carry a unique purpose that the world couldn't yet comprehend. The Bible teaches us that being misunderstood is often a hallmark of those called by God. Jesus himself was misunderstood throughout his life. In John 1:10-11, it says, "He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him. He came to that which was his own, but his own did not receive him." Like Jesus, your uniqueness may have caused others to distance themselves from you or fail to appreciate the depth of who you were. This feeling of being different likely made childhood difficult at times. You may have wondered why you couldn't just fit in, why others didn't see the world the way you did. But what if being misunderstood was a gift? What if it was God's way of setting you apart for something greater? In Isaiah 55:8-9, God reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways." Your perspective was different because it was aligned with something higher, something eternal. Being misunderstood also taught you resilience. It forced you to find strength within yourself and to rely on God rather than the approval of others. This inner strength was not a coincidence, it was preparation. God often uses the experience of being misunderstood to shape his chosen ones into people who can stand firm in their purpose, even when the world doesn't understand them. Consider Noah, who was called by God to build an ark in preparation for a flood that no one believed would come. He was ridiculed, mocked, and dismissed as foolish, yet he remained obedient to God's command. His faith and perseverance were rewarded, and his story became a testament to the power of following God's purpose, even when it doesn't make sense to others. As a child, your sense of being misunderstood also gave you a deeper empathy for others. You understood what it felt like to be on the outside, and that experience likely made you more compassionate and accepting of those who were different. This empathy is one of your greatest gifts, a reflection of God's love working through you. So, reflect on this. Do you still carry that sense of uniqueness, or have you tried to suppress it to fit in with the world? Because the very things that made you feel misunderstood as a child are the things that make you extraordinary. They are the marks of someone chosen, someone called to live a life that is not ordinary but extraordinary. Remember, being misunderstood isn't a curse, it's confirmation. It's a sign that you were designed for a purpose that others may not yet see. Stay true to who you are, because God always sees the bigger picture. 9. You were highly creative. As a child, creativity seemed to flow effortlessly through you. It was as though your mind could see possibilities where others saw only limitations. Whether you were drawing, writing, building, or dreaming, your creativity was boundless. It wasn't something you learned, it was something you were born with. This innate ability to create was a clear sign that you were chosen, set apart to reflect the Creator in your own unique way. The Bible tells us that we are made in the image of God, the ultimate Creator. Genesis 1:27 says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, He created them. Your creativity was evidence of this divine imprint on your life. Just as God spoke the universe into existence, you were gifted with the ability to bring ideas to life, to transform the intangible into something real and meaningful. As a child, your creativity may have expressed itself in unexpected ways. Perhaps you could turn simple objects into something extraordinary, or maybe you wrote stories or poems that seemed far beyond your years. Whatever form it took, your creativity was more than a talent, it was a calling. It was God's way of equipping you to bring beauty, innovation, and inspiration into the world. But creativity isn't just about creating things, it's about seeing the world differently. As a child, you likely noticed patterns, connections, and ideas that others overlooked. While your peers followed the conventional path, you blazed your own trail, fueled by imagination and curiosity. This ability to think outside the box wasn't random, it was preparation. God was shaping you to become a visionary, someone who could see what others couldn't and make it a reality. Your creativity also set you apart in ways that may have made childhood challenging. Perhaps others didn't understand your ideas or dismissed them as impractical. You may have felt isolated at times, wondering why you couldn't see the world the way everyone else did. But this sense of being different wasn't a weakness, it was your strength. God often sets His chosen ones apart, so that they can fulfill their unique purpose without being confined by the expectations of others. Consider King David, who wrote many of the Psalms. His creativity was not only a form of expression, but also a means of connecting with God. Through his words, he captured the depth of human emotion and the majesty of God's creation. Like David, your creativity is a gift that can bring glory to God and hope to others. It is a reflection of His Spirit working in and through you. So ask yourself, are you still nurturing that creative spark, or has life dimmed it? Because your creativity is a reminder of who you are, a creator made in the image of the Creator. It is a tool, a weapon, and a blessing meant to bring light into the world. 10. You experienced unusual challenges. Your childhood may have been marked by struggles that others didn't face. Perhaps you endured loss, rejection, or hardship that seemed unfair for someone so young. These challenges may have left you feeling broken at times, but they were not without purpose. In fact, they were one of the clearest signs that you were chosen. For those called to a great purpose often walk a path of great difficulty. The Bible is full of examples of individuals who faced extraordinary challenges as part of their preparation for their calling. Think of Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his own brothers and imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. Or Moses, who was abandoned as a baby, raised in a foreign culture and exiled to the wilderness before becoming the deliverer of Israel. These challenges were not punishments, they were part of God's plan to shape them into the leaders they were meant to be. In James 1:2-4 we are reminded, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Your childhood challenges, though painful, were God's way of refining you. Each difficulty you faced was a lesson, a tool that God used to build your character, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for the path ahead. As a child, you may not have understood why you had to endure such hardships. You may have felt abandoned or forgotten. But the truth is, you were never alone. God was with you in every trial, guiding you, protecting you, and using those experiences to shape you into the person you were meant to become. Your struggles were not random, they were intentional, designed to prepare you for a purpose far greater than you could imagine. These challenges also gave you a depth of empathy and resilience that set you apart. Because you experienced pain, you can now recognize it in others and offer them comfort and hope. Because you faced adversity, you know how to stand strong in the face of life's storms. These qualities are not just valuable, they are essential for someone chosen by God to make a difference in the world. Consider Jesus, who endured suffering and rejection throughout his life. Isaiah 53:3 describes him as a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. Yet through his suffering he brought salvation to the world. Similarly, your challenges were not the end of your story. They were the beginning of a journey that will lead to transformation, both for yourself and for those you are called to impact. Reflect on this. How have your childhood challenges shaped you? What did they teach you about yourself, about others, and about God? Because those experiences were not wasted. They were part of a divine plan, a sign that you were chosen for something extraordinary. Embrace them, not as scars, but as badges of honor, reminders that you are stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever imagined. As we look back on these signs from your childhood, it becomes clear that nothing about your journey has been accidental. Each moment, whether it was filled with joy, struggle, wonder, or solitude, was a deliberate brushstroke on the canvas of your life. From the big questions you asked to the creativity that flowed through you, from the challenges you endured to the empathy that set your heart ablaze, every experience was a mark of your divine purpose. These signs are not just memories, they are reminders of who you have always been, a person chosen by God, set apart for a life of meaning, growth, and impact. But being chosen isn't just about recognition. It's about responsibility. It's about taking the gifts, lessons, and signs from your past and using them to build a future that honors the one who created you. It's about stepping boldly into the purpose that has been whispering to your heart since you were a child. Maybe you've spent years doubting your worth, trying to fit into places where you were never meant to belong. Maybe life has dulled the dreams you once carried, or fear has silenced the questions you used to ask. But today, let this message awaken something within you. Let it remind you that the signs were always there, guiding you toward a destiny that is uniquely yours. You were never meant to blend in, you were meant to stand out. You were never meant to follow the crowd, you were meant to lead, to inspire, and to create. The signs of your childhood were not random, they were God's fingerprints on your life, evidence that you are part of a greater plan. As you leave today, I encourage you to reflect on the signs we've uncovered. Think back to those moments when you felt misunderstood, yet deeply connected to something greater. Revisit the dreams you thought were too far out of reach and the questions you were told were too big to ask. Remember, those were not just fleeting experiences, they were the voice of God calling you to step into your purpose. Now is the time to reclaim your identity, to embrace the person you were always meant to be. Let the signs of your childhood remind you of your strength, your resilience, and your calling. The world needs the light you carry, the wisdom you hold, and the love you have to give. You were chosen for a reason, and your journey is far from over. Walk boldly into your future, knowing that you are not alone. The one who chose you walks beside you, equipping you, strengthening you, and cheering you on every step of the way. So rise, shine, and live the life you were created to live, because you were chosen not by chance but by design.